Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate the time you've taken out to join us in this webinar. A quick introduction of Meteonic Innovations. My name is Rahul. I'm a sales manager at Meteonic, and I manage the North region along with my team. Uh, as Meteonic, we focus on application security, exposure validation, data privacy, and many other solutions. We have a long 20-year long history in India and have around 300, 350 clients. We are very proud to successfully operate for 20 plus years and looking forward to creating more opportunities with our fellow partners. And today's webinar topic is leveraging AI for exposure validation so that we can stop guessing and start validating. To enable this discussion further, we have Ranjit Mewada sir joining us from Simulate, who is the technical director of all products there. Over to you, Ranjit sir. Could you please give us a quick introduction about yourself and Simulate, and then we can maybe kick off this webinar?
Sure. Thanks, Rahul. So what I'll do, I'll just share my screen. Then we'll start with the introduction part. Quickly, if you can confirm if my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Perfect. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Ranjit Mewada. I'm working with Simulate for more than 5 years. I'm a technical director. Basically, my background is from information security. From last 11 years, I've been doing a lot of offensive security control validation. And today, I got opportunity to present you the exposure validation platform. So what we are going to do today is we are going to focus more on the AI part of it. We will discuss about how AI can be leveraged to do the exposure validation. You might have already heard about terms breach attack simulation, automated red teaming, automated pen testing, a lot of confusing terms. So Gartner basically have created an umbrella on top of all of these and called it as exposure validation, right? So let's start, and I will completely guide you in terms of how exposure validation can be used in your day-to-day organization, your challenges, and what all outcomes you will get from the platform. Why it is required for the security teams. Let me. Yeah. So first question, yes, what is exposure validation, right? Definitely, I just described, you might have heard about the breach attack simulation, continuous, pen testing, continuous red teaming, and so on and so forth. Technically, if you see all these process or all these methodologies follows the same pattern, you have to automate and scale your offenses. You find out different exposures or the vulnerabilities or the misconfigurations, right? Based on those, you tune and optimize your security controls. It can be patching, it can be changing some configuration on firewall, on ADR, adding new rules, and so on and so forth. At the end, your goal is you're proving resiliency against threat actors. Right? A lot of attacks which are happening right now, every day there are new threats. These days, threat actors themselves are using AI technology to speed up the attack, right? To get inside the organization. So technically, everybody is exposed towards the attack, right? At the end, if you are from manufacturing, if you are from banking, finance sector, or online shop, and so on and so forth, at the end you have the same control deployed. Yeah, you are using operating system which can be Windows, Linux, Mac, right? Those are protected by security controls. You have EDR controls, you have proxy controls, email gateway, sandboxing, DLP solution, and so on and so forth, right? So as an organization, we have already invested millions and millions of dollars to make sure whatever we have developed, our production environment, everything is secured from the application, from different sort of attacks, right? So what are the benefits and the outcome of the exposure validation? Why it is required, right? Now, traditionally, definitely you have been already doing, pen testing. Maybe you are doing it once a year. So we are reducing time, you are speeding up the process, and you are also challenging your security controls in terms of defensive. So let's say, for an example, there is a new APT group, right? Now, if you want to validate, it might take few days. It depends on the resources which you have, right? It might take few days to understand what attacker is basically doing, right? Then you will analyze, or your team member will analyze it and try to maybe perform certain sort of similar activities to make sure your controls are in place, right? So this is where we will reduce this, manual time to 1 or 2 hours, because we have ready-made access to all these simulations available in the platform, right? You will increase the efficiency of your team members almost by 60%. Why? Because now your team member don't have to go and research. Everything is readily available. Just click launch and immediately validate whether you are exposed to them or not. You are reducing the issues. You are also increasing the efficiency of your detection capabilities, because when you are going to perform all these offensive control validation, you're doing the attacks, right? But definitely at the same time, your systems, your defensive controls will also generate a lot of event alerts, and those can also be validated with the help of exposure validation, where we will tell you, okay, you have run these 100 different scenarios, and out of those 100 scenarios, definitely you have blocked all 90 of them, which is really good. Your application or your security controls are working as intended. You just have to work on 10 remaining one which are bypassed. But at the same time, whether those 100 are detected or not, right? Maybe we have half the detection rate. Even though it was prevented, detection can be missed by the defensive controls what we have configured in our environment. So what is basically holding you back, from the exposure validation? Why, you are not starting with the exposure validation? You might have a few other, reasons also. The common reasons will be, these basically a skill set, or a focus result, or a resource which you are right now facing right now, right? In terms of, okay, if I want to do a pen testing, you will require resources. They are already occupied with lots of day-to-day activity. Can it be automated? It also depends on the skill set of the person who is doing the work, right? Maybe you have one team leader. Along with one team leader, you have 5 different resources, and they are handling multiple tasks. They also have to learn, improve their skills to understand different attacks and then validate against your organization. Basically, you don't have time to wait for an attack to happen. So that here, using exposure validation, proactively you will go ahead and validate those. And you need a focus result also, right? If I just do a normal vulnerability scan, I might get 5,000 different vulnerabilities, but what to focus on, right? It can be a medium severity vulnerability, but which is already being exploited or weaponized by threat actor, like those IOCs, they are actually abusing it, right? In that case, we have higher risk. Traditionally, we follow that, okay, we will fix critical things first, then high, then medium, and so on, right? But what if the medium severity vulnerability chain together with some other vulnerability and being exploited by the threat actors? That's where you need focus on the result, so that you can prioritize what all different misconfigurations or vulnerabilities or loopholes you have in your environment, and you can fix those issues in your organization, right? The next part is that what exactly you are expecting from the exposure validation. So these are the common things. Basically, you need automation, you need insight about the attacks which you are performing, because you don't want to do anything manually. Insight will allow you to give you a complete details about what exactly you are performing, attacking, and based on that you will get the mitigation guidelines. And definitely a user experience, it has to be easy. It cannot be complicated that my resource who's going to manage exposure validation, again you will have to learn another tool which I will put on a stack, and then go ahead and start utilizing it for my environment, right? So we have lots of different challenges. So today we will focus on 5 different challenges, how AI can help basically in terms of those challenges, right? Focus on business need. Definitely different business have a different need. Based on that, you have already deployed different controls, you have different environment, you have different branches. For each branches overseas, you have different controls. When you adapt to new threats, basically you need to improve or learn more about new threat actors, new techniques and tactics which are being used by the threat actors. Definitely, you will immediately validate those threat IOCs. But what about the techniques, right? Threat techniques needs more understanding, more experience about how attackers are actually going to go and abuse it. So you need customization for the testing, right? You will have to customize internally based on your requirement, and then go ahead and launch those attacks, offensive attacks against your controls. After all these attacks, definitely you need insights, and based on insight, you will prioritize, okay, these are the issues I can address immediately. These are from my perimeter control. These are from my internal control. Based on that, you can prioritize those. And to remediate those issues to different exposures, you have different guidelines. IOCs, I can go and directly block it. I can do the automated mitigation. Based on behavior, I have to create a policy. I might have to start enabling the SSL traffic so that I can monitor what other users are actually accessing and downloading in my environment. I have to reconfigure and monitor the network traffic so that my DLP solution on network can actually validate what packets are going outside, whether it is not containing any sort of critical data which belongs to the organization. So let's start with the focus challenge. First challenge is the focus about whether my team member have enough resource or not, right? Resource in terms of the team itself, or the team have different tools and everything is available handy for them to go ahead and launch different sort of validation controls. To now again, if your team member are already occupied with lots of day-to-day activities, so they might be doing vulnerability assessment, they might be following up with the internal resources or internal team members, stakeholders, day-to-day meetings which are going on. So it might add up another tool, right, for them. So to manage that, basically how AI will help you. So AI here will guide you in terms of to validate and create different strategy for you, right? Now my team member doesn't have let's say a skill set, or my team is very small. I have only two guys. One is doing the offensive testing, another is maybe monitoring or the defensive controls and doing the SOC part of it, right? In that case, I can't burden them with more and more tasks, to go ahead and further do the attacks based on I have millions of different attacks available in Simulate platform. So focus is required, like what exactly matters to my organization, which threat actors are actually targeting my organization, based on the industry, based on the security controls I have deployed, based on the different technology or security stack I have, whether I need any data for my compliance. Can I use this output for my compliance? Do I have to do a separate compliance? Can I increase or decrease a number of different activities like pen test? Can I reduce it? I don't want to do it every quarterly. Maybe I can do it yearly, just as part of the compliance. And I will rely on exposure validation to continuously validate my security controls, right? So this is where AI will give you a guide in terms of creating your strategy, and that you can validate as per the the organization you fall under. Basically, this is how it will look. So on platform, you have AI. You will directly chat with AI. You can type, okay, hi AI, I want to, create a validation strategy for my organization. Now, based on that, AI will ask you a few questions. Okay, what do you want to test? Do you want to focus on email gateway? Do you want to focus on firewall, IDAs, IPAs, EDR control, whatever? So you can respond. So, for example, here you can see I have the response. Okay, I want to validate my EDR, SIM solution, and web solution, right? So based on that, AI will go ahead and analyze my repository. Basically, this is a generative AI, which will go back, identify from millions of different attack vectors, identify what exactly is required to test or validate these controls. And it will suggest you, type of attack which you can perform. So on the next screen, now you can see it analyzed my query. Based on my query, now he is giving me some suggestion. Okay, this is your industry. For example, I have put as healthcare as an industry. And these are all threat actors which are, attacking the healthcare industry. And I have different security controls which I have mentioned, so that considered by the AI, and then is suggesting me, okay, this is okay, or you want to change anything. Just revalidating whether you want to add anything additional, or in case if I need, okay, apart from EDR, SIM, and web, I also want to validate my proxy or DLP solution. I can immediately add, or I can say, okay, go ahead and create, the template out of it. On the next screen, now you can see my AI basically generated a template. Here you can see I have a generate template option based on, different inputs which I have provided. So in a simple language, I'm asking my AI, okay, I have a simulate platform. Exposure validation is available to me. Instead of me going through each and every different scenarios, you have millions of scenario, creating filters and so on and so forth. Let me ask AI, and immediately within 2 minutes, you will be able to create, the validation strategy for your organization. Now, this is to quickly start with the attacks, right? You have a platform today, immediately within 2 hours, you can deploy the agent and start running all these type of attack simulation in your environment. This is first focus challenge which we have addressed. Let's see the next challenge is the adaptation. Like now about the one single threat actor, which is fine. Tomorrow there can be more threat actors, right? My team then does not have time again to build test cases for the new threats. Tomorrow again there is new threats will come. After that another new threats will come and so on and so forth. And that is where you can now utilize AI to even automate this part of activity where, okay, maybe my team member don't even have time to go and read about the threat actors. Let me take help of AI. I will ask my AI, go ahead, take this input. It can be a handwritten input which we have seen so far, or it can be a blog post. You just provide a URL, let my AI automatically analyze it, right? It will analyze based on the threat actor's name, the TTPs which are mentioned, techniques and procedures which are mentioned there, the commands or tools which are used by the threat actors, and based on that it will go ahead and create the template for you. Now on this particular screen there is the example. Here you can see I'm providing a medium.com URL for Akira ransomware. Basically, I'm just giving this URL to the AI as a prompt. And based on that, now AI will go ahead and validate, okay, what is it about? It will analyze the complete blog, what is written, it will summarize, pick up those tools and the tactics and techniques which are mentioned in this particular block, and then it gives me option to generate the attack vector, right? If I'm okay with the summary about what all things are included over here, the next part is to go ahead and create the template, and this is how you will see a template created. It also actually went ahead and created a chained attack for me, right? So there are two different execution which will happen, which will pass their output to the next executions and so on and so forth, and I will go ahead and validate. So simply by providing a URL or a description about the threat actors which are running wild, you can again go ahead and automate this part of the attack validation strategy by actually adapting to the new threat actors. Right now, this is the second challenge we have focused. So focus, you have idea about how we can go and create a validation strategy manually. Second, by providing something as an input. Third, definitely, once you start running this assessment, maybe after 3 months, 6 months, you will have, okay, I want to go ahead and customize, more in, technical way of exploring and attacking my controls, right? What more can be done as part of the attack simulation, right? And this is where basically you can go ahead and ask AI to create custom testing for you, right? It can be a red teaming activity. It can be internal pen testing, which you are already performing. So basically what I will do, I will ask my scenario to my AI, and based on the data and the attack simulation which I already have, AI will go ahead and mix and match, create the chained attack and give me suggestion, right? Now a simple example, let's say Retimer are using Mimikatz to dump Elsa's memory to actually gain the credential details of that user which is running on that system. Or using that, I want to further go ahead and do the lateral movement using PS exec. Right, so I can just type it down. Okay, this is a scenario. Instead of me learning about Mimikatz tool, what is lateral movement, what is PS exec, which port it works, I don't have to worry about it. My team member are, directly they know about the attack. They know about this is how the tool is being used. I just have to give the inputs, and based on that, my AI will create or generate the attack simulation for you. Right. So this is where you can see as an example. Let's say another example, Log4j shell vulnerability is there. I will just ask, okay, using that, can I bypass my WAF or not, right? WAF is basically my security controls, which I want to validate. If my application is vulnerable or not vulnerable, I don't care. WAF should block it at the end, because those are the applications which are publicly exposed, through the WAF. So I can immediately go ahead and ask my AI, and it will generate that simulation for me. On the right hand side, you can see I can again customize this. I can go ahead and modify the input parameters, the output chain. I can remove something. I have complete possibility of modifying what AI have generated for me, right? So basically what we are doing, we are trying to automate, speed up the process of creating different attack simulations based on your requirement, your organization, right? So this is how you can go ahead and create a different attack plans from that. The next challenge is insight. Okay, Ranjit, you have done good. You have executed lots of different scenario. You know where to focus. You know how to adapt to the new threat actors. 500 scenarios I have executed. But what about those 500 scenarios? Where should I go and mitigate? Who should be responsible for the mitigation? Which tool you have bypassed? Did you bypass EDR control? Did you bypass proxy? And how you can go ahead and mitigate those issues, right? So you need some insight about it. What is my priority, right? If there is a perimeter control which got breached, or the data which is getting bypassed from those controls, then it's a more priority for me rather than improving my DLP solution, because once the attacker comes inside, and then he will try to take the data outside, right? It can be internal threat vendors also, which can be using different techniques. So here, to mitigate this or to address this challenge, basically you can again ask AI. It will immediately give you insight about the assessment which you have performed, right? So again, you don't have to manually go and find out, okay, the scenario number one, what you have executed, what was the command, what was the output. Scenario number two, again, understand, and so on and so forth, right? You can have lots of ransomware, you can have lots of crypto miner, you can have APT groups, TTPs, different controls, all together you have executed. It might get, confusing for a person who is managing it, right? To immediately get the summary out of it and what is the priority, you can ask my AI, okay, this is what I have done, as part of my attack simulation. Can you please tell me the top 10 MITRE technique which are not detected and even not prevented in my environment? Now I have already done the execution. I already have a result. Instead of going back to the results which are like, 3 or 4 days back, which I've executed, I can just immediately ask AI and AI will immediately create summary out of it. Right. The insight which will help me in terms of addressing those issues, right? And that is where addressing where you need a recommendation, those will also be available from the AI platform. The next challenge is the remediation, right? At the end, you have to mitigate those issues. Mitigation in terms of offensive testing, which are failed to be protected by your defensive control, definitely you have to mitigate those. But you have a defensive controls also. Events alerts were also not generated. That also you have to mitigate, right? So those remediations are also available. And to actually get into different actionable and automated mitigation, you can again ask my AI, and AI will give you those different details about it, like pushing the IOCs directly to the environment. It's very trivial, at the end, if you have phishing URL and it is accessible from your environment, all we have to do is block the phishing domain, right? If I have a file download, which is a ransomware, and the file is being hosted on GitHub, I have two options. I can directly block GitHub, but what if my organization is, developing some software and they require a GitHub? GitHub itself is not malicious domain, but the file hosted there can be malicious, right? In that case, I will address in a way where I will enable SSL inspection, monitor based on my policies which file types are allowed to be downloaded in my environment. Based on the user segment, I can further go ahead and put sandboxing there, so that even the user who are allowed, I am actually validating what they are downloading. I will scan under the sandboxing environment, make sure that file what they are downloading are clean from the viruses or any sort of malicious component, and then I will allow them and modify. I will improve the security controls by modifying or adding different rules to it, right? So this can be done using AI, and definitely in our platform, you can automate those. We have, lots of different way of mitigating those issues, starting from IOC mitigation, WAF rules generation, different EDR specific mitigation, or it can be as simple as detection Sigma rules. You can convert Sigma rules to any vendor and get it detected in your environment. This is one of the example where I have executed PowerShell with COM object, which is going to go and download some file, malicious file, and these are all different events which gets generated in the environment. And you can immediately go and select, okay, Azure Sentinel I'm using right now, create a rule for that. I can just copy paste this rule and my detection will be, go ahead and pick those things up. I can rerun this assessment to validate that detections are also happening now, right? So exposure validation using AI is more accessible right now, right? Initially, when I spoke about exposure validation, you might have a question, okay, why I need breach attack simulation, exposure validation, continuous automated retrieving, lots of different confusing terms. But using AI, it is more accessible to you, to your team, to both do the attack validation and detection engineering, right? You can focus, you can improve the skill, the resources are handy to you, and based on that, you can improve the complete security posture of your organization. Simulate is best in class exposure validation platform, trusted by lots of organization in India. Almost more than 100 customers are using Simulate platform to validate their security controls and strengthen their security controls. Do let me know if you have any question. You can visit our website, simulate.com. Yeah. Over to you, Rahul.
Hi, thank you, Ranjit, for a very detailed session. uh, uh, we can open up the floor for some questions if anyone has. You can raise your hands and maybe I can allow you to speak, or you can put your questions on the chat box. So meanwhile, I also had a question specific to
Yes.
energy industry. Right now,
Mhm.
a lot of companies are expanding the grid with smart meters, IoTs, different type of IoTs, etc. So obviously attack surface is expanded.
Correct.
So how would simulate or a solution with which enables AI based validation of that exposure,
Mhm.
how would they help an energy company to assess where they stand in terms of detection and validation? Would it also
Correct.
work with SCADA type environments, OT type environments?
Yes.
Smart meters are of so many different types of OEMs. How can we check what kind of security controls that they third parties or OEMs use?
Mhm. So at the end, if you again see, the question comes back to which security controls they have deployed. Even though it is my IT environment or OT environment, I do have deployed firewall, to make sure that those are isolated. I do have proxy if my OT environment requires an internet connection. I do have AV or EDR just to make sure that if even the internet is provided, if something is downloaded or manually or physically something have been added inside the device, maybe as a storage as a file, it is being detected and blocked at that level itself, right? So the target is basically the security controls. All you have to do is define one target test system, deploy simulate agent over there, and you can run all these assessments which are available in the platform. Even you can ask AI to generate a lot of different templates for you, so you can quickly start with the attack simulation. So you don't require actual OT environment itself. Just take one system out of it with the same control, deploy there our simulate agent, and start running the assessment.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much, sir. So, could you also expand on, where you would need an agent? So, you said that you can validate security controls across multiple different technologies of security, WAF,
Mhm.
EDR, etc. All of these are, pretty huge technologies in of them in of themselves. So,
Mhm.
is it like an agentless approach and agent approach where do these things work? You also mentioned that it works on Kubernetes and EC2 instances. So could you
Yeah.
just give us a quick idea on how, like, technically these things would work?
Yeah, so we are actually using software-based agent. It is very simple, small software which you deploy on targeted, environment. What I mean by environment is it's not like antivirus or EDR solution that you have to deploy it everywhere, right? We are doing the validation. So for example, if I have, let's say, Windows 11 system as my user segment, or I have 2016 server on server segment, I will need only one agent for each environment, because the operating systems or the policies or the controls are deployed over there are different, right? And let's say if I have 5,000 Windows 11 system, all my 5,000 end users or they are using it, the AV-EDR will remain same. So if I'm going to perform on one system, the results are applicable to all those systems, right? Same way for the firewall proxy. So at the end, the target is the security control. Let's say you are validating your proxy or your web gateway technically. So behind proxy, you have Linux, Mac, or Windows, doesn't matter, because the traffic is going to be passing through the proxy itself. So any system you can deploy agent and then start running the assessment. Same way, like you mentioned, EC2 instance, like cloud environment, you have presence. So within your cloud VM, again, you can put one agent, and within that cloud also you can run the simulation. Or cloud infra related if you want to perform, because cloud itself is like two components. In majorly, basically, one is VM where you deploy everything, which behaves very similar to on-premise solution. But there is an infrastructure, the services which are offered by cloud itself, like spinning up S3 buckets or some IAM related, where you create different user and roles. Definitely EC2, VMs and so on and so forth. So for each type of service, also there can be type of attack which can be simulated through simulate platform. Yeah.
Got it, sir. So I think there's a question from the chat box. Sahil is asking, does it test thin client devices like ATMs?
Yes. So again, the same answer. What security
Same
controls
answer.
you have put on your ATMs? If I have the same EDR which is running on my server, the same EDR I have deployed maybe on ATM, it depends, then I don't require it to be, honestly, to be tested on ATM, because I already have a result from my server, which is again deployed with the same agent of EDR solution, or it's behind the same proxy or same firewall. So at the end, yes, the results will be applicable to your security solution, whichever security solution around or in the ATM which you have deployed. Yes.
Got it, got it. So I have a follow-up to that question. So the TTPs, when someone is attacking an ATM versus when someone's trying to attack a laptop or a server or a computer would be very different, right? So
Mhm.
you're saying that if the EDR is the same that is deployed there, then the same validation technique would be used. But wouldn't the threat or the techniques that probably like these malicious actors are using, wouldn't that be very different? What if they're using some kind of like physical intervention during the ATM, which is not being captured on that?
No, so physical attack is completely separate, right? When we are doing the validation, we are targeting your security controls in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the production environment, all the security controls which are connected through your internet connectivity. So physical attacks we are not performing, right? Physical controls
Mm-hmm.
actually require physical presence, and based on that you can go ahead and perform those attacks. So
No, no,
simulate
I
doesn't
sorry.
do any physical attacks.
No, no, sorry. What I mentioned, what I was trying to say was, if you have some kind of card, that card has
I think I'm losing you, Rahul. Rahul, can you hear me? I think we lost you. I think let's
high.
do
Yeah,
one thing.
yeah.
You are back. Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple more questions, sir. Again, sorry for the network issue. So there's a question where what kind of AI models are you using, and what is the data collection policy on that?
So we are not collecting any data. This is our internal developed AI model. It is based on the different simulations what we have generated, right? So it's a generative AI. Basically, it's not public. It doesn't take any data from the customer. Based on your prompt, your request, AI is just analyzing, capturing those specific keywords, and from our library of attacks, it is going to create and suggest you those attack simulation. And yeah, definitely once you run, you get mitigations also. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for that. Hope that answers the question, sir. So there's one more follow-up from Sahil regarding that ATM question. So he's saying that Simulate is a SaaS-based solution. So how can your agent connect with that console, especially if that console does not have internet connectivity or network connectivity?
So it depends on how you define your console. Console can be hosted on your system. It can be hosted on SaaS itself, right? Basically,
Hmm.
agent connects back to the SaaS platform. We have our pre-requirement document. We can also discuss in detail separately on in terms of how we can go ahead and do, even we can do a POC if you are interested in the platform. The idea here is that the agent is deployed in your golden image. The golden image represents, it can be any system endpoint, right? It can be your existing laptop where your security tools are already deployed, your IT guys have already pushed all the policies and everything. There we deploy the agent. Agent needs communication back to the threat libraries. As a compliance, I have millions of different threat simulations with malicious simulations. I cannot keep anything malicious in your system. I cannot keep them in customer's environment. This is very important from the compliance perspective. If you have on-premise solution, that means I'm already introducing billions of viruses, worm, trojans, everything is already present in your environment. If something goes wrong, there is a problem, right? It might damage and create other issue. To address this, what we have done, our attack libraries are on cloud. Agent is deployed, which is a small software-based agent in one of your test system. Whenever you launch the attack in a controlled manner through your proxy, agent downloads those required simulation files. It will do the simulation or validation, and based on that, it will generate the report and delete those things. So cleanup is always ensured in terms of attack simulation. So if there is, yeah, I think there is a follow-up question. That question remains the same. If the golden image is a different thing, can we validate the client which has no internet connectivity? It's the same answer. Can attacker reach your system where there is no internet connectivity? Definitely no. But again, if you want to validate, you can take the system from that specific environment, put it in separate zone where it is only communicated back to the simulate platform, and on that system you can go ahead and run the attack. If there is no internet connectivity, even attacker can't reach.
Okay,
Yeah,
he's saying
again,
that maybe
the
the
next
attacker can
question is
run.
via malicious USB. So malicious USB, if you plug which control you have, right? You have endpoint control, you have group policy, you have app locker. These are your security controls. I don't have to do it physically. For a simulation to validate whether physical attack can happen, I can just take the same system, deploy my agent, run the assessment, and I know the output whether even the malicious USB is attached, malicious payload will execute or stay on my system or not. Whether my AV is deleting them or not, whether my EDR is taking execution related prevention mechanism on that malicious payload or not, right? So, yeah, I mean, putting something malicious is one part. Maybe for internet, I don't have direct internet connection to put something malicious there, but whether execution will work or not, that is up to your EDR solution, and that validation you can definitely do it. Yeah, I think again it's the same question. It's a malicious file transfer via USB. So yeah, endpoint security controls basically are focusing on. At the end, that will only block the malicious file, right? Even if it is not detected, if new threat detectors comes with a very fresh, right now just compiled new IOC and give it to you over USB, then maybe it will fail from your AV perspective. But EDR should pick it up, and it depends on which technique that threat detector is using, right? So that threat technique you can simulate from simulate, so that you know that these techniques are available, and if you block those techniques, even the payloads are not detected from signature because you have already validated and created those mitigation in your environment. Attacker will not be able to run those technique in your environment.
Got it, Ranjit sir. With the host of experience that you have, what are some of the security controls that are common that you've seen across industries that have been neglected, that could be a starting point for a lot of organizations, even without utilizing simulate and threat exposure, something that they can start off with that might help.
So to answer that, it's very simple. All the security controls, whatever organization have by default, doesn't work well. There are a lot of
Mhm.
OEMs, they come, they deploy their solution on a default configuration without understanding the customer's environment. They will just take sign off and go. It depends on how they have correctly configured. See, even deploying antivirus is, it's very easy job. But configuring antivirus or EDR solution or even firewall is very important, right? If I'm just running my WAF solution with default rules, tomorrow there is new vulnerability like Log4j. No WAF has on the day one, that this particular payload will be sent by attacker, right? And that is how they were able to get inside a lot of different applications because those WAF did not protect them. So here you are trying to find out unknowns of unknowns, right? Known things are already known to vulnerability solutions, which can be
Mm-hmm.
directly, validated. But to find out the unknowns, you need to validate your security controls from the threat actors, which is nothing but by validating offensive attack simulation using different tactics and techniques.
Got it, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. So, enforcement of policy and creation of configuration was very, very important. And then, like, is it something that in organization should be like a continuous thing that your how you've set it up should always be validated across maybe quarters or maybe weekly
Mhm.
or monthly, depending on how much threat there is.
So your question itself has an answer. So definitely
Hmm.
enforcing the policies is very important. Lots of
Hmm.
organizations are doing it, but these are done with validation. And for validation, you need some validation tool so that those controls or whatever policies you have enforced are validated, like Symlex.
Got it. Got it. Got it. One more follow up on that question. So,
Yeah.
there might be also, for all the infrastructure that an organization already has deployed and, is using currently, there might be a lot of patches or, updates that are coming in or, have been missed or the IT teams kind of like, on the roll to get them updated and some things of that sort. So, does the platform also help on that which should be prioritized, which should be critically done first, and that what can what is must have, what is good to have type, does it have that prioritization as well?
Yes, prioritization is also there. Depends on how attacker is coming inside. So attacker usually have two ways basically to get inside the organization, by exploiting something or by just delivering their own payload, right? When I say their own payload is basically they get reverse connection. It can be over TCP, HTTP, DNS, lots of protocols are available so that they can hide themselves inside a genuine traffic, right? By exploiting something, definitely they will have to exploit some CVEs, I mean the vulnerabilities which are there. So you have attackers payload and attackers weaponized payload, right? Both
Mm-hmm.
can be validated from Simulate platform. You have threat libraries available, you can validate. If let's say you have certain vulnerabilities and the threat actor is also abusing that vulnerability, definitely they are exploiting and getting inside. So the immediate action from your end to prioritize these vulnerabilities and to validate them whether they are actually blocked or not. So when you do the simulation at the same time, you will run two type of attack simulation. One is those IOCs of threat actors are blocked or not from the perimeter control. Your email, your proxy and endpoint AV is blocking it. At the same time, those techniques you can utilize, you can ask even AI, so that AI will automatically generate a template based on the threat actors techniques being used. PowerShell, DLL injection, DLL side loading, using run DLL 32, scheduling a task. Lots of different techniques are there. So based on that, those simulation of behavior can also be validated. So you are double sure about the protection and you have also validated them.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much, sir. I think that answers my questions. If anyone else has any further questions, we can take them up. I've also put Ranjit sir and my email IDs on the chat. If you guys have any further questions or you would like to discuss and further some more around the details of Simulate, please feel free to reach out. We are happy to help. And I think so. With that, we can maybe call it a successful webinar. Thank you so much for having given us your time and all these insights into the solution, especially converging AI and security validation. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that again. Uh,
Thank you.
Looking forward,
Thank
sir.
you everyone for joining. Good questions, good discussion. Yeah. Have a nice day.